I raised my best friend's daughter like my own after the accident. But then I found her journal, and she wrote that I killed her parents. I still remember the smell of burning rubber and the way my shoes filled with rainwater as I sprinted toward the wreckage. It was 11 years ago, but it feels like yesterday. The night the car flipped over near the edge of Hollow Creek, crushing metal against bark, glass slicing into skin. That night, the night I lost Emma and Caleb, I gained a daughter I never planned for. I wasn't supposed to be the one left behind. Emma was my best friend from childhood. We'd done everything together, climbed trees until our knees bled, shared sleepovers under Fort Meade ceilings, laughed until our sides ached, cried until we couldn't breathe. And when she married Caleb, I stood by her side, the maid of honor who meant every tear in her eyes and every vow spoken aloud. Their daughter, Lily, was only 4 when the accident happened. Small, fragile, wide-eyed, clutching a stuffed bear with fur so worn it looked like it had been through war. She didn't understand what had happened that night. She only understood what was gone. The police said it was a drunk driver, an unknown man in a rusted-out pickup who veered into their lane and vanished into the woods. No license plate, no name, just twisted steel and shattered lives. I never got answers, but I had to move forward because Lily needed someone. And there was no one else. No grandparents, no cousins, just me. I was 31, single, working in a quiet community library and still living in the apartment Emma and I used to share in college. I didn't know how to be a mother, but I knew how to love. I loved Lily like my own. I gave up everything, my savings, my time, my career. I moved to a smaller town for her, took online teaching jobs to work from home. I packed lunch boxes with heart-shaped sandwiches, sat through school plays where she was the tree in the background, and sang her to sleep through fevers and growing pains. She called me Auntie Ray at first, but somewhere along the line, it turned into Mom. And I let it. It was never official. There were no adoption papers. But I was her mother in every way that mattered. I was there when she lost her first tooth, when she had nightmares about the accident, when she broke her arm trying to skateboard down the front steps. Every moment, every memory, I was the one holding her hand. Still, I kept a shrine for Emma and Caleb in the corner of my bedroom. A small photo of them smiling under a cherry tree, taken the day before the crash. Emma in a lavender dress. Caleb holding Lily in his arms. It reminded me of why I had to keep going, why I had to make life better for the little girl they left behind. And for a long time, I thought I was doing everything right. But Lily changed when she turned 15. She grew distant, quiet, angry, even. I chalked it up to teenage hormones at first, the usual eye rolls, the closed doors, the you wouldn't understand glares. But there was something deeper, a coldness behind her eyes I hadn't seen before. Like she was carrying something heavy and resented me for not knowing what it was. One night, I brought her hot chocolate during a thunderstorm, something I'd always done since she was little. But she barely looked up from her phone and muttered, "You don't have to pretend, Ray." I asked what she meant, but she just shrugged and went back to scrolling. Then came the missed curfews, the skipped dinners. The journal she started guarding like a dragon hoarding treasure. She used to leave her things everywhere, bags, books, shoes, but not that journal. It never left her backpack. And if I even glanced at it, her eyes would narrow like daggers. Still, I respected her privacy. Until the night I didn't. It was after a screaming match. One of the worst we'd ever had. I'd grounded her for coming home at 2 a.m., smelling like smoke and beer. She stood in the hallway, fists clenched, eyes full of rage, and screamed something that made my blood run cold. "You think you're so perfect, but I know what you did to them." She slammed the door so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling, wondering what she could possibly mean. Wondering if maybe, just maybe, someone had told her something. Some lie. Some twisted version of that night, or was it grief? A wound she never healed. A child's way of lashing out? But the next day, when she left for school, I walked into her room. And I opened the journal. I told myself it was out of concern, that I needed to understand what was happening to her, that maybe I'd find a cry for help or a secret about drugs, bullying, depression, anything but what I actually found. The first page was harmless. Doodles. Random lyrics. The usual. But by page 3, my stomach turned to ice. I don't remember the crash. I only remember her hands pulling me away. Her eyes like she was scared I saw something I shouldn't. She says it was a drunk driver. But that's not what I saw. Sometimes I hear their voices in my dreams. And they're not crying for help. They're screaming at Ray. What if she did it? What if she wanted them gone? She always loved me more. She said she'd do anything to keep me safe. Maybe that meant getting rid of them. I couldn't read anymore. My hands trembled as I closed the journal and placed it back exactly where I found it. My legs barely held me upright as I left her room and locked myself in the bathroom. I sat on the cold tile floor, arms around my knees, heart pounding like a war drum in my chest. She thought I killed Emma and Caleb, the little girl I'd raised, the one I'd loved like my own, the one I gave up my entire life for. She believed I murdered her parents, my best friend, and her husband. The words ran through my head like a curse. She blamed me, and I didn't know why. Had someone told her something? Planted a lie in her mind? Or was there something else? A piece of that night I had buried so deep even I couldn't face it? Because now that I thought about it, I never did tell her everything. For days after reading the journal, I walked through the house like a ghost. Every creak in the floor, every photo on the wall, every muffled laugh from Lily's room sounded warped, as if I were suddenly a stranger inside the home I built for her. The kitchen where I taught her how to stir pancake batter without making a mess. The hallway where she'd taken her first steps, wobbling toward me like a drunk toddler. The living room where she once curled up in my arms after nightmares. All of it felt like someone else's memories now. Because those memories weren't real anymore. Not to her. She didn't see me as the woman who picked up the pieces after her parents died. She saw me as the one who shattered them in the first place. I tried to act normal at first. I'd wake her for school, pack her lunch, remind her to take her keys. But she noticed. Of course she noticed. The silence between us had grown heavy. Thick. Suffocating. Her eyes would dart toward me at dinner, narrowing slightly like she was waiting for me to explode, confess, cry, something. But I said nothing. Until the evening she brought home the boy. His name was Damien. 17. All attitude and eyeliner. She introduced him with a smug smile, daring me to disapprove. He walked into our living room with muddy boots, nodded at me like I was the maid, then plopped onto the couch and pulled Lily onto his lap. I didn't say a word. I just watched. She wanted a reaction, maybe even a fight, but I didn't give her one. Because all I could think about was that journal. About how maybe she wasn't trying to get a rise out of me. Maybe she was testing me. Would I snap? Would I prove I had something dark inside? Later that night, I heard them arguing in the garage. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but their voices carried through the thin walls. I just don't trust her anymore, Lily whispered. She's hiding something. I can feel it. I know what I saw in the dream. She was there, Damien. She pulled me from the car, but I think she left them behind. On purpose. Maybe it's time you make her talk. A heavy silence followed. Then a low laugh. I stepped back from the door, heart racing. Make me talk? The next morning, her bedroom door was open. And the journal was gone. Not just from the desk, from the house. I searched everywhere, drawers, closets, under the bed, nothing. I didn't dare ask her. She'd know I'd read it. But its absence left me feeling like something important had been ripped out of my hands. Like I was no longer in control of my own story. And that's when the phone call started. First, the anonymous one. A male voice, smooth and quiet. She knows, he whispered. And soon, everyone else will too. Click. Then the letter in the mailbox. No return address. Just a single sentence on plain white paper. You'll burn for what you did. I stood outside with that note in my hand, my breath fogging up in the early morning chill. Across the street, someone sat in a parked car with tinted windows. The engine was running, but the figure inside didn't move, just watched. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in bed clutching the old photo of Emma, Caleb, and Lily under the cherry tree. I looked at Emma's eyes, full of warmth and mischief. I remembered the way she used to laugh with her whole body, no filter, no shame. I remembered how Caleb always carried Lily on his shoulders like she was royalty. They were good people. Flawed, like everyone, but good. And I had loved them both. So why did Lily believe I killed them? The next day, I went digging. Into my own memory. Into that night. The crash had always been hazy, a blur of headlights. Screams. Metal against bark. I remember running from my car toward theirs, parked half off the embankment. I remember prying Lily from the back seat as flames licked the hood. I remember Emma's blood on my hands. But I couldn't remember what had happened just before. Why was I there? They were supposed to be coming from the cabin that weekend, Emma and Caleb's annual getaway. I wasn't supposed to be anywhere near Hollow Creek. So why had I been driving that same road, that same night? A forgotten call? A fight? A meeting? My mind wouldn't give it to me. So I went to the police station. Detective Halbrook had been the lead on their case. He was retired now, but I remembered him, a broad-shouldered man with sad eyes and a permanent coffee stain on his tie. He recognized me immediately and invited me to sit in his dusty office at the end of the hall. "I've been expecting this," he said softly. I blinked. "What do you mean?" He sighed, opened a drawer, and pulled out a file. "Your daughter, Lily, came here a few weeks ago. Said she had reason to believe her parents' deaths weren't accidental." I froze. "And what did you tell her?" "I told her we'd looked into every angle. That the case was ruled an accident because that's what it was." He tapped the folder. "But there was one thing. Something we didn't share at the time." He flipped the file open. A photo slid across the desk. My car, at the scene. Dented, but not crushed. Parked in the trees, some 20 yards away from Emma and Caleb's wreck. The timestamp was 5 minutes before the accident. My stomach dropped. I thought, maybe you'd arrived afterward. But this suggests you were already there. Before the impact. I don't remember," I whispered. Halbrook studied me. "That's what bothers me. You've never asked questions about the driver who hit them. Never called to follow up. You just disappeared with Lily." I swallowed hard. Because I was grieving. He nodded slowly. "Or hiding." I left the station shaking. When I got home, the front door was slightly ajar. I stepped inside carefully, calling for Lily. No answer. The living room was empty. The kitchen lights flickered. My heart pounded harder as I noticed muddy footprints trailing from the back door. Up the stairs. And into my room. I followed them. On my bed sat the journal. Open to a fresh page. She's starting to remember. She knows now. I think it's time. Next to it, a single photo, one I hadn't seen in years. A grainy image of me, Emma, and Caleb in front of a bonfire. My hand was on Caleb's shoulder, his arm around my waist. I stared at it, confused. Then I flipped it over. On the back, scribbled in black ink, "You lied. You wanted him. And now she knows everything." I didn't move for a long time. I just stood there, staring at that old photograph, Caleb's arm around me, my hand resting on his shoulder like we belonged to each other. Like we were the ones together. I didn't remember that night. I didn't remember that moment. But clearly, someone did. And someone wanted Lily to see it. The handwriting on the back wasn't hers. I was sure of that. It was sharper, more slanted, older. Someone else was feeding her these thoughts. Feeding her the fire I never knew she carried. I sat down on the bed, the journal still open beside me. The last line circled my brain like a noose tightening slowly. You wanted him. And now she knows everything. That wasn't true. It couldn't be true. Could it? I did love Caleb. Once. A long time ago. Before Emma. Before they even met. I'd known Caleb first. We dated in college, briefly. It had been intense, passionate, reckless. But he wanted more than I could give at the time. I ended it before it got too serious. Then, a year later, Emma met him. And something in me had stepped aside, quietly, without protest. Because she loved him differently. Better, maybe. Or just louder. I buried my feelings. Moved on. Or at least, I thought I had. Until now. I rubbed my temples, heart thudding in a rhythm that didn't feel like mine. My thoughts were running faster than I could catch them. Why had someone sent this photo now? Who had kept it all these years? And more importantly, what were they trying to prove? My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A message from an unknown number. Ask her what she saw in the woods. She remembers more than she admits. I sat upright. The woods. Hollow Creek wasn't just a crash site. It was a forest trail. A place we used to hike on weekends, back when Lily was little. But the accident had happened near the deepest bend, an area so thick with trees it always felt like it belonged to someone else. Was that where Lily had seen something? Or had someone shown her something? I needed to talk to her. Directly. No more pretending. No more waiting for her to come to me with half-written journal entries and cryptic glances. When she came home that night, I was waiting in the kitchen. She paused in the doorway, seeing the journal open on the table. Her eyes flared with betrayal. You went through my stuff again, she snapped. I'm not going to lie, I said quietly. Yes, I did. You have no right. I had every right the moment you accused me of killing your parents. Silence. She stepped further in, jaw tight, fists clenched at her sides. So? Are you finally going to admit it? My breath caught. Admit what? That you hated them. I loved them. No, you didn't. You wanted my dad. You wanted him so bad. You couldn't stand watching them be happy. My voice cracked. Where are you getting this from? Who's telling you these things? She pulled a piece of paper from her jacket and slammed it on the table. It was a police report. Partial. Faded. But enough to read. A call placed 3 days before the crash. My name. My voice. Transcribed in jagged lines. I need to talk to someone. My best friend, She's married to the man I'm still in love with. I think I'm losing control. My knees nearly buckled. I didn't mean, I whispered. You said it yourself. Her voice trembled. You were losing control. That was a moment. One moment. I never would have hurt them. Then why were you there, Ray? She demanded. Why were you already at Hollow Creek that night? My heart dropped. I don't know. She stared at me like I was filth. You don't even deny it anymore. Lily, please. I was confused. Heartbroken. But I never. Save it. She turned to leave. Wait, I said sharply. Tell me what you saw. She froze. Tell me what you remember. Not what people told you. Not what you dreamed. What you actually saw. Her back was to me. I could barely hear her when she spoke. I remember smoke. Screaming. You dragging me from the car. But I also remember my mom yelling. She wasn't calling for help. She was yelling at you. Like she was angry. Like you weren't supposed to be there. I sank into the chair. You weren't saving us, she said coldly. You were running from something. And then she left. That night, I dug through my closet until I found the old showbox I hadn't opened in a decade. Inside were memories I'd buried. Letters from Caleb, old photos, and a necklace he'd given me back in college, a silver chain with a tiny tree pendant. The same tree from the photo. The same one at Hollow Creek. It had been our spot once. And then I saw it. A note. Torn at the edges, folded tight. Emma's handwriting. I saw the way you looked at him. I know what you're still feeling. Don't think I'm blind. If you come near him again, Ray, I swear I will end our friendship. Dated. 2 days before the crash. I dropped the note. Everything inside me crumbled at once. They had fought. Emma had known. I had been there. I had said things I shouldn't. And now it was all unraveling. The next morning, I got a call from the school. Lily hadn't shown up for class. She wasn't answering her phone. And neither was Damien. Panic gripped my chest as I ran upstairs and flung open her closet. Half her clothes were gone. Her backpack. Her charger. The journal. She had run away. Not just from the house, from me. And somehow, deep in my gut, I knew she wasn't just running. She was going to someone. Someone who wanted to finish the story I had forgotten. Someone who wanted revenge. I didn't call the police. I couldn't. Because how do you explain to them that the daughter you raised, the one you loved and protected like your own blood, just ran away because she believes you murdered her parents? There's no report for that. No official form to fill out. Just silence, panic, and the crushing weight of guilt you're not even sure you deserve. I sat in Lily's room for hours. Her posters still covered the walls, bands she no longer listened to, quotes she once loved. Her bed was neatly made, as if she didn't want me to know she'd never planned to return. There was no goodbye note, just a void, a quiet, suffocating absence. I tried calling again. Voicemail. Tried Damien. Straight to voicemail. Then I remembered the old burner phone. The one I confiscated from her last year when I caught her sneaking out. I found it in the top of my closet, dead but still working. I charged it, praying it might have something, a message, a contact, a clue. It took 20 minutes to turn on. And when it did, I found only one thread worth chasing. A contact saved as Ash. I didn't recognize the name, but the messages. They made my blood run cold. Ash, she doesn't deserve your loyalty. Ash, ask her about the fire. Ask her about the necklace. Ash, I told you. I was there. I saw everything. Ash, it's time people know what Ray really is. Ash, are you ready? The last message was a day before she left. Ash, he'll pick you up at midnight. Bring the journal. I didn't waste another second. I called Halbrook, the retired detective. He owed me honesty now. I told him everything. The journal. The messages. The photo. The burner phone. Every lie. Every twisted half-truth. Every memory I couldn't trust. He listened quietly. Then, after a long pause, he said, I know who Ash is. I stopped breathing. Who? There was a man who came by the station 3 times after the accident, Halbrook said. Wouldn't leave his name. Claimed he had proof the crash wasn't an accident. Said you were involved somehow. I never filed a report. He didn't give enough. But I remember his face. Who was he? Caleb's half-brother. What? Name's Asher. He and Caleb had a falling out years before the crash. Moneyland. Something about inheritance. But he hated you, Ray. Thought you were manipulative. That you pulled Caleb away from the family. My mouth went dry. I didn't even know Caleb had a half-brother. Why didn't anyone tell me? I asked. Halbrook sighed. Because at the time, you were the only one caring for a traumatized child. You'd lost your best friend. We didn't want to pile more grief on you. Maybe we should have. I ended the call with shaking hands. Asher. Ash. He had been planting seeds. Manipulating Lily. Feeding her lies, or worse, fragments of truths twisted until they cut like razors. But why? What did he want? I didn't have all the answers. But I had one thing. A contact number from an old Christmas card Emma had sent before she married Caleb. She'd written down the address of the family's cabin, the one they used to escape to in the mountains. The same cabin they were coming back from, the night they died. I hadn't been there in years. But something told me Lily had gone there. And if I didn't reach her first, he'd finish what he started. The drive to the cabin was 5 hours of winding roads, fog-soaked trees, and my heart pounding like a fist against glass. As I pulled off the dirt path and parked by the wooden fence, The sun had dipped behind the hills. The air smelled of pine and frost and something older, memory. The cabin looked almost exactly as I remembered. Only now the windows were lit. Someone was inside. I crept up slowly, the crunch of gravel under my boots sounding too loud. I peered through the front window. Lily was sitting at the table. So was Damien. And across from them, a man I'd never seen before, but instantly recognized. He looked like Caleb. Same eyes, same sharp jaw, but older, colder. Asher. He was holding the journal and reading aloud. And then I saw her pull me from the car, he said, voice smooth and theatrical. But my mother was still alive. She was screaming. And Ray didn't even look back. Lily's face was pale. Her eyes looked wet but unreadable. Damien leaned closer. Are you sure she didn't go back for them? Asher smirked. She says she tried. But if she did, where's the evidence? Why was she even there? Why didn't she call for help until it was too late? I had heard enough. I kicked the door open. The crash made all three of them jump to their feet. Lily's eyes locked with mine, startled, panicked, and something else, conflicted. Asher rose slowly, folding the journal shut like a sacred text. Well, look who finally showed up, he said. The ghost from the past. Let her go, I said. No one's keeping her here, he replied coolly. She came on her own. She wanted answers. I gave them. You gave her poison, I snapped. You gave her your hatred. Your bitterness. All twisted up to make me look like the monster. You did that yourself, sweetheart, he hissed. You think you're innocent? You were in love with Caleb. You were there that night. You just don't want to remember. I looked at Lily. He's lying. Am I? Asher chuckled. Then tell her what you did 3 days before they died. Tell her about the fight. About the letter Emma wrote you. Tell her you threatened to leave with Lily if Caleb didn't tell Emma the truth. I froze. Because that memory did exist. Buried deep. That letter, it hadn't been the only one. I had said those things. In a moment of anger. A moment I regretted the second the words left my mouth. But I never followed through. I was broken, I whispered. I made mistakes. But I didn't kill them. Asher stepped forward. No, you just showed up at the right place at the right time. Or maybe the wrong time. He reached into his coat. I tensed. But he didn't pull a gun. He pulled a USB drive. Dash cam footage, he said. From a trucker who passed that road 5 minutes before the crash. Want to know what it shows? Your car. Already parked in the woods. Headlights off. Lily gasped. My breath left me. You were waiting for them? Asher said darkly. No, I choked. I don't remember. Exactly, he growled. You've spent so long building your little fairy tale, you forgot the one chapter that matters. You did something that night. Maybe not the crash. Maybe not on purpose. But you let them die. I was trying to save Lily. You were trying to bury your guilt. Silence fell like thunder. Lily looked at me. Her face had crumpled. Is it true? I couldn't speak. My mouth opened, but no words came. She stood up. I need air. She bolted out the door. Damien followed. I collapsed into the nearest chair. Asher watched me for a long moment. Then said, I told you. She'd choose the truth. He turned, smirking, and walked into the back room, leaving me alone, with the weight of every unanswered question I'd spent a decade avoiding. The cabin was too quiet. Outside, wind rustled the pines. Inside, my heartbeat was louder than breath. I didn't move. Couldn't. The weight of Asher's accusations, the memories unearthed, the look in Lily's eyes, it all pinned me down like lead in my chest. She's going to leave me. I felt it. Knew it. The damage was done. Then I heard her voice. Soft. Uncertain. Right outside the front door. I don't know what to believe anymore, she said. I do, Damien replied. He's right, Lily. Ray's been hiding this for years. She's not the person you thought she was. I don't know. Her voice cracked. But it doesn't feel right. Why would she save me if she wanted to hurt them? Because she needed someone to protect her story, Damien said bitterly. You were the shield. I couldn't take it. I stood, walked to the door, and stepped out onto the porch. The two of them looked up, startled. Lily's cheeks were wet. Damien was flushed with indignation. I faced her, eyes stinging. Lily, I'm not going to beg. You deserve the truth. All of it. And I'm done hiding it, from you, from myself. She held my gaze, fragile and unsure. Then tell me. Everything. I nodded. I did love Caleb. Before he met your mom. We were young, and stupid, and it didn't last. But something in me never let it go. When Emma married him, I smiled on the outside, but inside I was breaking. A lump rose in my throat, but I forced myself to keep going. I never tried to come between them, not really. But I hated myself for how much I still felt. And 3 days before the crash, I told Emma. I told her I needed space. That I might move away. She got angry. Wrote me that letter. Said she never wanted to see me again. I exhaled shakily. So the night of the crash, I drove to Hollow Creek. To the trail. To the tree Caleb and I had carved our initials in once. I was saying goodbye. To everything. To him. To her. To my guilt. Tears rolled freely now. I didn't stop them. I heard the crash before I saw it. I ran toward the sound. Their car had slammed into a tree. Flames were spreading. I didn't think. I just pulled you out. But why didn't you go back for them? Lily asked, voice cracking. I tried, I whispered. I swear to you, Lily, I tried. I dropped to my knees in front of her. Your dad. He was already gone. Your mom was trapped. The fire was spreading. She screamed at me to get you out. That was the last thing she said. Take care of her. My voice broke completely. So I did. She stared at me, lips trembling. Then why didn't you tell me this? Because I hated the way it sounded. Like an excuse. Like a convenient story with no proof. And a part of me thought I didn't deserve forgiveness. Lily's eyes searched mine. For the first time in weeks, maybe years, she didn't look angry. She looked human. Torn. Then Asher stepped out onto the porch. Well, he drawled, clapping slowly. Touching. But you're forgetting one thing. He held up the USB drive. This proves you were there before the crash. Lights off. Engine cold. Waiting. I was saying goodbye, I shouted. I didn't even know they were driving back that night. He scoffed. Do you expect us to believe this wasn't planned? I don't expect you to believe anything. But she knows me. And deep down, she knows I would never hurt them. Asher walked closer. You think she knows you? After all these lies? You molded her to fit your guilt. You didn't raise her, you programmed her. Lily's eyes narrowed. Stop. He ignored her. You controlled her for years. Just like you tried to control Caleb. It's pathetic. I said stop. Lily repeated, firmer. He turned to her. He was my brother. And she poisoned him. Took everything. And now she's doing it to you. She saved my life. Lily shouted. You weren't there. You didn't see what she saw. You've just been hiding behind conspiracy theories and old resentment. Asher's face twisted. You don't know anything, he snapped. He took a step toward her. And that's when I saw it. The glint of metal in his hand. A small pocket knife drawn from his coat. Back away from her, I said, stepping between them. He didn't stop. She was supposed to be the villain, he hissed. Not the martyr. Not the hero. I knew I'd finally destroy her. I gave you the truth. That wasn't truth, Lily said quietly behind me. That was your revenge. And then, a click. Damien, trembling, had pulled out his phone. You're alive, he whispered. Asher blinked. What? Damien turned the phone around. Streaming, to everyone. Asher froze. For a second, just 1 second, the fury slipped, and all that was left was panic. He bolted. I chased him, but he was faster, darting through the woods like a shadow. By the time I reached the tree line, he was gone. But it didn't matter. The truth was out. 3 weeks later, the footage Damien captured went viral. Asher's words, his knife, his twisted admission, all of it played across screens, dissected online. Old investigators reopened the case. And this time, with fresh eyes. They verified the dashcam's timestamp, which proved I was not in the crash path. Just parked off-road, far from the main curve. It was coincidence. Painful, cruel coincidence. And my name was cleared. But that wasn't what mattered most. What mattered was that Lily came home. We didn't pretend everything was suddenly perfect. There were still hard nights, still therapy sessions and lingering questions, still dreams that woke us both at 3 a.m., gasping. But something had shifted. The silence between us was no longer bitter. It was healing. One night, weeks after everything settled, I found her sitting by the fire, holding her old stuffed bear, the one from the accident. She looked at me. "Do you ever wonder," she asked softly, "if the truth even matters? Or if we just need to know someone would never stop fighting for us?" I sat beside her and whispered, "I don't know the difference anymore." She leaned into me, resting her head on my shoulder. "I believe you now," she said. "I'm sorry it took me so long." I wrapped my arm around her. "No," I whispered. "I'm sorry I let someone else tell your story before I told you mine."